Okay, guys, so let's continue from where we left up. In our previous video, we dealt with diving into water sources, unpacking the visits, and assessing our water quality. So in this video, we will continue with investigating pollution issues. Okay, so we noticed that we recorded contamination or pollution data for all water sources. So let's find the table that contains the contamination or pollution data, right? So let's select, how do I keep making this mistake? We'll select everything from our MD water services, under which table? Well, pollution. So let's execute the query. So this is what we find here, right? So it looks like our scientists diligently recorded the water quality of all the wells. Some are contaminated with biological contaminants, while others are polluted with an excess of heavy metals and other pollutants. Based on the results, each well was classified as clean, contaminated, biological, or contaminated chemical, as we can see here. I believe we should see the same thing in our table here as well. It is important to know this because wells that are polluted with bio or other contaminants are not safe to drink. It looks like they recorded a source ID of each test, so we need to link it to a source at some place in Maji Ndongo. So in the previous video, we read here that the source IDs in visits table refers to source IDs in water source table. Now, what this means is that the source ID has a relation. In this case, it is relational to the source ID in water source table. Okay, so wherever we see source ID, in even this visits table that we are saying here, we can link it to the source ID in the water source table, right? So this is a relational table that we can actually link and make references to. Let's go on. So as I said, it is important to know this because wells that are polluted in bio or other contaminants are not safe to drink. And it looks like the source ID was recorded here. So let's look for the other table where we can also find another source ID. In the well pollution table, the descriptions are notes taken by the scientists as text. These descriptions are text, so it will be challenging to process it. The biological column is in units of CFU per milliliter, these ones, which measures how much contamination is in the water. 0 is clean, and anything more than 0.01 is contaminated. So if we see 0 here, this means that it's clean. Okay, biological is clean, right? And anything more than 0.01 is contaminated. But I think our data even says otherwise because this biological is more than 0.00, so it's clean. And then this is also 0.00 is also clean. But we realize that even this 4.2164 is more than 0.01, so it came as contaminated, right? So let's move on. Let's check the integrity of the data. The worst case is if we have contamination, but we think we don't. People can get sick, so we need to make sure there are no errors in here. So we write a query that checks if the result is clean, but the biological column is 0.01. Okay, so we are going to continue with this query and say that where result is clean, right, and biological is greater than 0.01. Let's execute, and this is what we find. So these are the inconsistencies we've identified in the table. Okay, so even though the result states that it's clean here, the biological result or the whatever the biological we have here is more than 0.01. Okay, so it is an inconsistent data we have here, right? So I believe this is the same as what we have here. 64 rows were returned. So if we compare the results of this query to the entire table, it seems like we have some inconsistencies in how the well statuses are recorded. Specifically, it seems that some data input personnel might have mistaken the description field for determining the cleanliness of the water. It seems like in some cases, if the description field begins with the word clean, the result have been classified as clean. If the result in the result column, even though biological column is 0.01. So as we can see here, or as stated earlier, the description has clean here, and the result has clean, and biological is obviously greater than 0.01. Okay, so it was assumed that if the word begins with clean, then means it's clean, even though biological column is greater than 0.01, as we see here. So this emphasizes that when we work with real world data, we may find inconsistencies due to the data being misinterpreted based on the description rather than its actual values. So let's dive deeper into the cause of the issue with biological contamination data. Vuisile, did I get that right? Vuisile has told me that the description should only have the word clean if there is no biological contamination and no chemical pollutant. Some data personnel might have copied the data from the scientist's note into our database incorrectly. We need to find and remove the clean part from all the descriptions that do not have biological contamination, so this mistake is not made again. What this point is trying to mean is that wherever we see clean bacteria Giardia lamblia or clean bacteria E. coli in our description, we need to update it, to change it to represent clean bacteria Giardia lamblia or bacteria E. coli. Okay, so as I just said, we are going to change wherever we see clean bacteria Giardia lamblia. We'll have to update it to take out the clean and return only bacteria Giardia lamblia, and the same will go for bacteria E. coli, right? So the second issue has arisen from this error, but it is much more problematic. Some of the field surveyors have marked wells as clean in the results column because the description had the word clean in it, even though they have a biological contamination. So we need to find all these results that have a value greater than 0.01 in the biological column and have been set to clean in the results column. Okay, so results column is clean, biological column is greater than 0.01, and description has clean even though biological column is greater than 0.01. So first, let's look at the descriptions. We need to identify the records that mistakenly have the word clean in the description. However, it is important to remember that not all of our field surveyors use the description to set the results. Some checked the actual data. So the hint given is to find these descriptions, we need to search for the word clean with additional characters after it, as this is what separates incorrect descriptions from the records that should have clean. So if we can recall, somewhere in the modules we treated where we have characters beginning or ending with a particular number, where we can use underscore or percentage to represent how we want the data to come out. So we are going to trigger that same query here to bring this out. So after we query, we should have 38 row descriptions or 38 rows. So let's go into it and see how we will do that. Okay, so let's clean this. And then from the well pollution table, where our results is a result, no, we are now working on description, where description is like, and remember that when we are querying to bring out these kind of, I've forgotten the actual name, but to have clean or to begin with a letter or to come in between, we have to use the like query. Okay, so where the description is like clean but ends with other what's it called, other words or letters, okay, and the biological what's the name, biological is greater than 0.01, is greater than 0.01. So let's query and see if we can also get the 38 rows. Yes, we did. So we are good. We are still on track. Gradually we'll get there. So now we need to fix this description so that we don't encounter this issue again in future. Looking at the results, we can see two different descriptions that we need to fix. So all records that mistakenly have clean bacteria should be updated to bacteria E. coli, and clean bacteria Giardia lamblia should be updated to bacteria Giardia lamblia, right? So it means that we have to change this bacteria Giardia lamblia here. We have to update it to remove the clean from there, and we'll have to do the same thing for the bacteria E. coli as well. Okay, but before we do that, okay, so the second issue we need to fix is in our results column. We need to update the results column from clean to contaminated. So we need to update this from clean to contaminated biological, where biological column has value greater than 0.01. So if the values in the biological column is greater than 0.01, the result should come out as contaminated or contaminated biological. Okay, but before we run all these queries, we need to establish one fact. I think somewhere in one of the walkthrough videos, it was explained that if we want to, or even in the slides, if we want to update a table like this, we need to be very careful, because if we make mistakes or any error, we will not be able to reverse it. Okay, so we need to do it in a copy, or we need to copy the table and try that query in there. If it works, then we can bring it back to the actual table we want to run the query. And if we copy the query and we run it and it doesn't work, it's very easy to drop that copy of the table, and then we can make a copy again and try the query until we find the right query before we take it to the original table. I hope what I said makes sense. Okay, so here is how, well, in this case, he did it. So this represents or indicates a comment. Okay, so case 1A is to update descriptions that mistakenly mention clean bacteria to bacteria E. coli. And then case 1B will update the description that mistakenly mention clean bacteria Giardia lamblia to bacteria Giardia lamblia. And then case 2 will be updates results to contaminated biological, where biological is greater than 0.01 plus current result is clean. So this here is a comment that we can type in here and reference to. Maybe that will be a guide to help us know how to query. But before we make these changes, here's another nugget of advice. Begin complex queries with commenting on what you will do, as has been done up here. This helps us to think through the problem before we write code to solve it. And once we are done, we have a well-documented code. Okay, so this comment that has been typed here was a guide on how this code was typed. Okay, then add how we will do it. So this is how it will done. So still in a comment form, case 1A referring to update descriptions that mistakenly mention clean bacteria. This is how the code is done, or it was written. So update, then you update the well pollution table, and then we change description from to bacteria E. coli. Okay, and then where do we want this to happen? In the same description table where the description is clean bacteria E. coli. So this is just a further breakdown of how this of this comment. This is how the code will be written, and then you'll also do the same for case 1B, and then you do the same for case 2. It's just comments. So you just type all of these comments in your query space here before we actually initiate the case. Okay, so this is a continuation of what is in here, right? But in this case, it has actually given how the data or how the query is supposed to be. So we update well pollution, the description, where we set the description to bacteria E. coli, where description is clean bacteria E. coli. So this clean bacteria E. coli will be replaced with bacteria E. coli, right? So it says we should go ahead and fill the rest. I might not type all of those things in here. I want to save time, so let's continue. Now, when we change any data on the database, we need to be sure that there are no errors, as this could fill the database with incorrect values. A safer way to do the update is by testing the changes on a copy of the table first. So this re-emphasizes what I just said some few minutes ago, that in order to not to have any error in the actual database or actual table, we need to create a copy of that table and then run the query first. If everything works well, then we do it in the actual table. Okay, so the create table, if we can remember, this was the first thing we did, the first walkthrough. The create table, new table, as the query approach is a neat trick to allow you create a new table from the results set of a query. This method is especially useful for creating backup tables or subsets without the need to separate create table and insert into statement. Okay, so what this means is that with this query here, it's very easy to create a table. It's a neat trick actually that allows us to create a table from a result set of a query. So we are going to create a table from an already existing data. Okay, and then it's useful for creating backup tables, where we now create a table and then we come and type insert into, we type the column name and then we insert the data. No, that's a long process. Okay, so if we run create table and this is what we are supposed to run. So let's type in this query and run it and see what happens. Okay, so right, so this is how we're going to do it in here. Let's create table. Okay, and now the table will be from the same database, MD Water Service, but the table is still Well Pollution with copy. Okay, so we are going to create MD. You know what? Let me just drag it. MD Water Service. The table name should be Well Pollution, but in this case, let's add copy, because if we should query this, it wouldn't work because it already exists. Let's try and see. It will come out as an error. Okay, because it already exists. Okay, so let me add the copy and let's query it. Oh, that even came out as a copy because we need to add more data to it. So we need to set that as now we select everything from the MD Water Services and Well Pollution table. So we're going to select everything from that table to make a copy of the table we are creating. Okay, so as select everything from MD Water Services. Okay, from MD Water Services. I always like to drag and drop because it makes the work very easier. And then Well Pollution. Let's close the bracket and let's execute. Okay, so the table has been created, though we can't see it here. And once we refresh our schema, it should be the next table after Well Pollution here. So let's run it, and then after refreshing, this is what happened. We now have a copy of the Well Pollution table here. So now this is where we can run these updates, okay, to make sure that the updates work before we come back and do it in the actual Well Pollution table, right? So with the guide that we got here, that is what we are going to run in the copy table. And we've been given a guide here. This is very simple. We can just type all of this in there, and then that is going to bring out what we actually want. Okay, but before we do this, let's try and see something. Let's see, or let me say, let's actually have a first view of how the table looks like before we make the changes, and see how the changes came by. Okay, so let's select from the Well Pollution copy, right? And then let's query. So this is what we see, and even if we can go a little bit further, where for the first one that we did, okay, where description, where result is clean, results is clean and biological is greater than 0.01. This is the first one that we did. Okay, so you return this. So let's I don't know if we can just take notes of, or maybe write down one of the source IDs and maybe refer back to it later on. So let me pick this one, AKRU. I'm actually writing it down now, 064892224. And then let's add maybe another one, KIRU 25473224. Let's take note of these two source IDs, and then later on, once we are done with the updates, we come back and check if actually that change was made. Okay, so we are coming to write this code in our query table. Okay, so we're coming to update well pollution. So update, but I'll bring this table first, because this is the database we're working with. I'll start with that one, and then well pollution copy. Right, so we are done with well pollution copy. So we are now going to set which column are we dealing with? We are dealing with the description column. Okay, so you set description to bacteria E. coli. Bacteria E. coli. Okay. Where description, where the same description under the description column, description, if we see clean clean bacteria, then E. coli. So we are done with this first part, right? Let's go to the second one, where description, what is the error? Clean bacteria E. coli. Okay, comma. Why is there an error? Is it because of the colon? DENCRIPTION description, yes. And then clean bacteria E. coli. What's the issue? Okay, so let's move on and see what, I hope we'll be able to identify what the issue is here, because if I should run this query, it wouldn't work. Oh, okay, I get it. I think it's the quotation mark. I'm using two separate quotation marks, so let's change this and we're good. And then the next thing, we'll do the same thing. We'll set description. So another, let me leave a space, update. Let me copy this whole thing here. Copy. And then paste. And then we set, in fact, let me copy all of this and then just be doing the changes. We set description to, the second one is Giardia lamblia. So Giardia lamblia, where we see clean bacteria also as Giardia lamblia. We can be doing it one after the other. Assuming after finishing with this, we execute the query, then we come and type this, we execute the query, and then we type the third one, and then we execute that query. Okay, so the third one is on the results. Okay, let me paste. In fact, I'll copy everything here and then paste. So this one is for results, not on description. Okay, where results is contaminated biological, meaning we are setting the results to contaminated biological. Where that same biological is greater than 0.01, end result is clean. Okay, so where biological is greater than 0.01, let me continue with this. And okay, let me just drop it. I can just continue, or I can drop it here. And results is equal to clean. Okay, so once we run this test, it should work perfectly. Okay. Okay. Oh. So this is stating that we can put a comment here to put a test query here that makes sure we find fixed errors. Okay. So as I first wrote down some source IDs that I can reference later to see if it worked, or use the query we use to show all the erroneous errors. Okay, so I didn't save, or I didn't copy. Let me put that here. The query that we use to get this, okay, the query that we use to get this table down here, I'm going to type that same query here, but in a comment form, so that later on, once we are done with this, we'll run that query again to see if the changes were made. Okay, so use the query we used to show all of the erroneous rows. So that query was, we actually selected what did we even do? We selected everything, okay, from still a comment. Let me put everything here. From MD water service under the well pollution table. Okay, where results my result was clean and biological was greater than 0.01. Okay, so this is the query we used. Okay, this is the query we used over here. I can as well break this down and then break this down as well. Okay, so this was the query we used. So after running this query, we can come back here and execute this query to see if we are going to be able to see the changes that has been made. So let me just execute this query and let's see. Perfect. So the update worked. The first update, as we can see, let me push this up. For, if you can see where my cursor is, 25, 26, and 27. Okay, the first update was on to set the description to bacteria E. coli where description is clean. It was perfect. The second one also worked. Okay, and the third one also worked. So we are good to go. Right, so now let's run the query. Let's run the query as we stated earlier on and see if we can see all of those changes. Okay, so first let me do this. Let me delete all of this. Then remove the comments, and let me execute. So we don't have, meaning everything has been executed, the changes have been made. So this query here will not bring anything because now the result clean has been changed. Okay, if I should put this, if I should change the where description is like, where description is like clean, and I execute this, okay, what happened? Where keep, is it description or descriptions? Yeah. Oh, okay. So our result is clean and biological. Okay. And I only used this one. So our result is clean. Results is clean and biological is 0.01. Let me close this and let's execute. Don't try and give me a headache. So where description is clean, or results is clean and biological is 0.01. Execute. Unknown description in where clauses. Why don't we have any description? Okay. There's the error. So clean and anything in between them. That is it. So it should work. Clean, where result is clean and biological is greater than 0.01. Guys, let me keep trying and see. I don't know where the error is coming from. So result is clean, biological is greater than 0.01, where description is like clean. Unknown column description in where clause. But our where pollution has description in the column. There's description here. Well, there was an error in what we did. Okay, let me do this and see. Execute and see if this will work. Still didn't work. Let me change this. Let's see something. Okay. We're almost done with this and we are getting a little challenge out here. Okay, let me do this. Let me select the entire table. Let me do it step by step and see what's going to happen. No, that is not what I want to see. I want to see copy. Okay, this is the copy, right? So let's see where. Let me use results to check and see if everything is okay here. I want to see only the clean results. Okay, and description also has what's the name, clean, and yeah, so clean and other letters or words. Let me execute and see. Okay, so it actually worked. Why was this not working for the first one? For the first one, I used description first. And then the second one, I used results first. I was actually looking for results. Okay, now let me add or we want to see our results. The result is already there, so in this case I'll use biological, where biological s greater than 0.01 and description is clean. Let me run this query to see if it will work. Perfect. So this worked, and I don't know what happened to this. This didn't work for me. This didn't work for me. I don't know why. Maybe someone might try it and that will work, because I actually did it the other way around. I looked for where the results were clean, okay, and then where biological is greater than 0.01 and description has words with clean and other ones, so that we'll know if we have the clean bacteria and see how the contents are. So let me filter, or let me sort it out, and let's see. So this is just trying to let us know if the query that we executed worked or not. Okay, so let me change it the other way around. Okay, do those. I think there's an issue because we still have clean. The result is contaminated though, yes, but the clean is still here. But I remember we changed the clean to Bacteria Gardia lamblia. Okay, so I am going to drop this table and I'll do it again, but in this time I'll be doing it one by one. I won't put all of them, all this here. I'll be doing it one by one. I'll do one and then I'll check. I'll do the second one and I'll check, so that we'll know that we are doing the right thing. Okay, so let me drop the table on easy. I'm going to drop well pollution table copy, and let's create another table. Okay, so let's use the create table. We are going to create a table. So this is the code that we used. Create table. Okay, from MD water services, drag and drop all the way, and well pollution, we are using a copy. We'll create it as, then we'll select from MD water services database, and we'll select from well pollution table. Okay, and we are done. So we've created unknown MD water services in the first field. What happened? Oh, we select everything from, sorry, and then we are done. Okay, so we have recreated our well pollution table again. So we are coming to do the update. Okay, but in this case, we'll do it one by one. We'll do bacteria first, and we'll check if it worked. We'll do E. coli first. We'll do Giardia lamblia. We'll check if it worked before we do the result. Let's do it one by one systematically and see what is going to happen. So as we have now created a new table, a copy of the table, let's execute these ones one by one, as I said not long ago. So let's update the well pollution copy. Let me just pick this here. I always like to reference the database because we have, in my case, I have more than one database here. I have the MD Water Service and I have United Nations. So I just want to specify the type of database. And then we're updating the copy. Okay, well pollution copy. So we'll set the description as we did earlier. We are just repeating the same thing, but this time we are doing it step by step, not to confuse us. So we'll set description to bacteria E. coli, and then we'll do that where description is clean bacteria E. coli. So where we have in description is clean bacteria E. coli. So I'll run this first, okay? Then I'll go and check from the table to see if it worked. So let me execute this. It didn't work. There's an unknown description. There's a mistake here. Description. Let's run it again. And it worked. Okay. So we have 26 rows that have been changed. Okay. So we don't have any warnings, meaning everything worked well. So now let's check and see if it worked. Okay, so we'll select everything from well pollution copy. Let's query, or let's further filter where description is, or no, let me use results. Description is very long. Results is clean. Okay. And biological is greater than 0.01. Okay, so we realized that the first one we did was to change clean bacteria E. coli to bacteria E. coli. So let's see if we still have clean bacteria E. coli here. We realized, now this is bacteria E. coli. It's been changed. It usually, initially, it used to be clean bacteria E. coli. So now we have bacteria E. coli. So we are now coming to execute the second query to change clean bacteria Giardia lamblia to bacteria Giardia lamblia. Okay, to see if that will also work. So let's type the query again. We are updating. You can either copy and paste the query somewhere so that later on you can only copy and paste and then you do the necessary changes. Okay, so set description to which one? Bacteria Giardia lamblia. Bacteria colon Giardia. I hope I get the name right. Then maybe that was the reason why we had an error in the first one. Giardia or Giardia lamblia. I think I made a mistake from yeah. So we are setting Giardia lamblia where description is clean So clean bacteria, then GIARDIA Lamblia. So I think for now I can be convinced that the first one that we did, I had a spelling mistake. That is why it didn't work, right? So let me execute this. It worked. And now let's, I should have copied that query, not to type everything again. So let me just edit this. So let me select everything from MD water sources. Let me remove this. So where I don't need description. So where result is clean, and which one did you use? Biological. Biological is greater than 0.01. Let's execute and see. Okay, so it's now working perfectly, right? We've been able to change the name. This initially was clean bacteria, and then clean bacteria Giardia lamblia. So we are done with this. Now we have to run the third query to change the clean where biological is greater than 0.01. So we'll change clean to contaminated biological. Okay, I'll copy this and let me put it here. I'll come back and copy it later. I can't be typing all the time. We need to save time. So let's update. I'll also copy this function and put it somewhere later on so that we don't have to be typing all the time. So we update this, and then we'll set this time results to what's the name? Why am I confused now? Sorry. So we'll set result to contaminated biological. Yeah. So result to contaminated. Was there a colon? Oh, yes. Biological. Where biological is greater than 0.01, right? And result is clean. Results is clean. So let's execute this and check if everything worked. Good. It changed. Okay. So we've been able to do all those changes, and let's use this query. Let me copy this and paste it here. So let me copy this query now and replace this. Let's see if it will work. So because now the results have been changed to contaminated biological, we don't have anything here. So let me change results to contaminated biological and see what we can get. Good. So now we are on the right path. So the result has now been changed to contaminated biological, where biological is greater than 0.01. Okay, so if I should change biological to equal to 0, and I execute it, let's see what happens. We don't have any biological that is 0, and the result is contaminated biological. That is why we have a 0 row. But if I should change this result to clean and we query it, should I make it greater than or equal to, because we had 0.000. There are other figures that have that, so we can as well ignore this, because what we were actually looking for worked. Okay, this query, where is it? No, this one, it worked. Okay, so we are now on the right path. Okay, so contaminated biological. There we have it. So all of the queries that we've run here work perfectly. Okay, now we can check if our errors are fixed, and that is what we just did. Okay, that is basically what we have done. Okay, so let's select from well pollution, where let's try and use this to see if it works. Where description, this description is like clean or results is clean and biological is greater than 0.01. Result is clean and biological is greater than 0.01. Let me close this and let's see. So we don't have any errors. Okay, that is why it came out as 0. So there are no errors in here. Okay, so we are done. So if we are sure it worked as intended, we can change the table back to the world population and delete the world population copy. Okay, so we'll drop this and then we'll go and run the query, the actual query in the world population table, not the copy. Okay, so the painful part is once we are done with all of these things, we are not coming to drop it, delete it as if nothing worked, and then redo it. So let's just do that. Let's drop this. Yeah. So I'm dropping this. Okay, and then we are now coming to update everything in here. We are updating the well pollution table with what we have done here. So in this case, let me just remove the copy and then let's start it one by one. Okay, so the first one, we are not setting results. The first one was for description. Description equals clean bacteria E. coli, where, let me copy this, where description equals, oh no, we are actually setting it to bacteria E. coli, where description is clean bacteria E. coli in the world pollution. So let's execute this. So what? Let's do the second one to G. Let me be sure of the spelling. Giardia, Giardia, Lamblia, Lamblia. Okay, so let me only copy this and paste it here, and let's execute. This also worked, and then we'll do the third one where we are going to use the same one. So let me just copy this, paste it. That's it. Let's execute. It also worked. Okay, so finally let's also check and see if we are going to have any issue. We are not using copy, where result is okay. There is nothing there, but if we should change this as we did earlier to contaminated biological, we should have a table here. So we are done. We've been able to do everything, and that brings us to the end of our video. So guys, it's a bit straightforward, but we need to be able to understand how the query works to be able to move step by step and get the actual results that we want to get. So hope we all find this video very helpful. You can as well reach out to me when you face any challenge, and then I will try my best and guide you through to be able to do it as expected. So that'll be all for now, and I'm hoping we'll continue on the next side. Peace out, guys.